didn't show up. We will go on with having Mr. Henry Lewis, Chief Henry Lewis. He's our keynote speaker. And we'll be running a little behind today. And before I hand over the mic, students, you will be getting little cards during your first session. And you have to be at every presentation. And it's just like last year, you have to get every one of those squares marked. And then your name will be entered into the door prizes. All right, students? All right, so with that, can I get a big round of applause for the chief?
Putamai, I acknowledge the Creator. And I'd like to thank the elders that lift up the pipe this morning. When you talk about treaties with Stopo, ceremony has to commence first because our trees are so sacred. So that's why we had that pipe ceremony. I'd like to say good morning to all students, the staff. Like what the vice principal said, it is very true. It is very true. We're on the crossroads now. What I mean by that is we're running out of elders. Every elder that we lose within this nation or each nation, we are losing a lot. Because what she talked about was, I like to start off with this. I like to talk about the balance of who we are. And I'd like to demonstrate as an individual, use myself as an example. It's not the boast or rag, but it's the truth, the reality. When my late dad, Mr. was in the verge of, going, he kind of left me a message. The message was, son, you need to go back to school. You need to. And most importantly, I'm going to leave you the pipe. And that's my work, and it's going to be your responsibility to carry that forth. We're on the crossroads, my God. We're running out of elders. Pomota. Academics, like I said, is very important. Very important. When I talk about the balance, trying to maintain that balance, with the advice, I went back to university and stuff. But, keeping in mind the residential school survivors, and I was one of them. When I graduated from grade 8, and I have to leave the reserve for the first time, to tell you the truth, I was ashamed of who I was. Because what was taught in the curriculum, not our ways, but the Munya ways. It was a struggle. It was a struggle. And it wasn't easy too. It wasn't easy. It was hard. It takes persistence and a lot of hard work to make it work. Just to make it short, I went back and I got my B.Ed and I got my master's degree to fulfill that. And on the other note, I was working beside him and along with some elders on the ceremonies and all of that. And I still do that as an individual. And that I like to show a diagram after I talk about this umuma. But I like to go back again. I have to acknowledge the people, the real treaty fighters that were invited. We worked together to trying to preserve the treaties of what we have left. And we have some good presenters here. We have some real good presenters. So with that, so that's the thing I quickly I'd like to talk about that the moment. So keep in mind the language is very important. When you do ceremonies, the language and the pipe go hand in hand. Because we were given a language that has a spirit and a pipe also. They have to go hand in hand. So I'm just going to go back, I'm just going to go to the next diagram. Higuma. That's the other hand, that's the master's degree in indigenous knowledge. And this is where we're struggling with, this is where we're stuck. Before I commenced any work on this, I had talked to the elders, asking their permission if I can write something down visual for the students to actually see. Because the oral tradition was very strong in the past, but now it has weakened to a point now. So if we don't leave anything visual, looks like everything's going to be lost. Everything. So, Igomoma. And I told the elders at the time, I'll do my 4-year Sundance before I do anything. And that's what I did. I did my 4-year Sundance. When you see this diagram also, it's our sovereignty, Higomakiano. In our inherent rights are instilled in this diagram. Treaty rights comes after. But inherent rights were what we had prior to European arrival. We had all of this. So this is a ceremonial lodge that goes, a lot of you might see it as a medicine chest, a medicine wheel heading. It's going further into the Sumu. So this is our sovereignty, Giano. And I like to talk about the spirit intent of treaty. Very important. The Gomoma. That's what we need to hold on dearly. And that's why I talked about the ceremonies. The spirit intent of treaties. They're spiritual. Riku said that's the reason why our negotiators, the elders at the time, and past leaders, have did their ceremonies. And the Sun Spirit came in there and helped them, guide them, and said, use me when it comes to treaties. I'll be there forever to the end. And also the water. As long as the sun shines, the water flows and the green grass grows. Up to this day, I learned the other version. As long as the water flows, the other version that I've learned was, as long as the woman is giving birth. See? And the green grass, as long as the green grass grows. Hikumuma, that's the main theme. Kakwin Stutami to understand the concept of what it actually means. Pokemon. I like to use the term Pokemon Lewis. Where does that come from? Again, that's a sovereign term. A chief is an Indian act version of who we are as leaders. But Okimau, and we're part of that as leaders. Okimauun. Because in the center there, that we use that as a symbol. The tree is a symbol. And that's used in the pipe stem also. And that's referred to in our term is Ogimauatik. You go down south in Maniti, you would take Ogimau Bisu, the thunderbird. Ogimau Bisu. See, the Creator has given these Kistano. As Indian people, we have a unique culture, a strong culture at that we need to preserve. Child rearing is involved in there. The life cycle, everything for. We are for. Nihiok, that means four. It is our sacred number, Tapto. We're part of the sun because the spark. We're part of water. We're part of the thunder spirit because we're part of water. Natagamni, north, what does the buffalo rely on? The grass, Kistanomin, we rely on that. The relationship between the animal kingdom and also the galaxy. I like to demonstrate on these laws that there are two stars in the bottom, that you can see two stars, and each has 7 points to it. And our pipe has 7 points to it. You see a little dipper on one side, and a big dipper on the other side. And when it comes to the Sundance lots, the women are keepers of that also. They're part of it. That's why we have a woman's pipe and a man's pipe. Just to give a brief example. Kanitaugi Tata Hawas is when we were born. There are things that needs to be done. Foremost, name giving is very important. The Gwemi is our keeper. Our Gwemi is Gwemi. Nia, my keeper, is the thunderbird. My tree name is Isipi Kwakpiso. I am forever indebted till I go to the spirit world, Nista, because I owe the thunder spirit my life. Where we live, every spring the water goes so high, Iskipik. As a 2-year-old, I fell in there. I didn't know, but my late sister told me after. Did you know that you just about drowned when you were 2 years old? I said, no, but I had flashbacks. It was so real. So it did really happen. So that thunder spirit gave me a second chance in life. So this is so powerful, what I'm talking about. Family services have been doing that name giving. Hawas, the children. This is something I wish to share, Nista. Because I'm at the verge of my retirement, Nista. This is my last term as your chief. What I care for the young people. I say that with emotion because I speak from the heart. I'm still going to be involved one way or the other. We'll get through this together. So I wanted to maybe touch on a few highlights of how everything started. Just like what I said in the curriculum, we were taught how the explorers came to North America. That's what we were taught in school, Inan. The explorers sent by the king to come into North America. And they liked what they saw. A lot of resources, a lot of vacant land. But due to doctrine of discovery, we have lost that land and also palpable. Doctrine of discovery, I wonder if you've learned that in school here. It's very important back in history what has happened that impact us to this day. It says that the land is vacant, it's not being used. So anybody that makes good use of it can claim it. Papaboo. Papaboo. Kaya no, it's sad reality that we were viewed as pagans. We had no religion. We had no belief system. That's our belief system, Kiano. They know, the government knew that we were powerful because of our ceremonies, Kiano. So how do they try and kill that? Is take an Indian out of the child. Residential school. They brought that up. To this day, we feel the intergenerational effects because of that. 60th scoop. Under the Indian Act, they made it against the law to practice our ceremonies because that's the only way that they can get rid of it. But our ceremonial people never gave up, they went underground. What I meant is underground, they went the way up north where they can do their ceremonies in secrecy. So our ceremonies never died. The government eventually gave up. They let us, with the amendments after amendment on the Indian Act, they keep changing the sections that affect them to protect themselves. When our elders, our negotiators, negotiated for treaty, and then the conclusion of 1876 in Fort Pitt, what did they do, the government do? They put our treaties aside and implemented that Indian Act that was in place already anyway. So that was the legislation that tied us down, suppressed us to total dependence on the government. When I was teaching, I have a student in here that I taught, Fraser. Fraser was so smart in class, and I told him one day you're going to get somewhere. And today he's contributing to this nation. And that's the expectation that we have as leadership. To be able to go for further education, come back and serve us. When I asked them at the time, what are your treaty rights? This was back in 97, 96, 97. And all they knew was we get $5 a year. $5 a year. And I knew right away that we're in trouble. That's what inspired me to go into leadership, to promote the treaties. I'd like to thank and acknowledge my cousin Otawali. For the longest time, we were alternating. Sometimes he gets in, I get out. But the vision that we have is the same. Because he also has that master's degree on that indigenous knowledge. He's also a lodge keeper. Legislation. In the past, though, the 1763 Royal Proclamation came into existence. And within that legislation, our lands are protected. They're protected. Because no newcomers can come unless they enter treaties with the treaty nations. They need to do that. So with that, think about this. If they don't honor treaties, what does that mean? Because Canada is based on treaties. If there was no treaties, there would be no Canada. The Cree term for Canada is Ikanatak. It's clean land, Ikanatak. So it was inserted in there. So that's the only way that they can come to our land. But the other point is, there's two versions of treaties. Their written version, and our oral version. The written version is that we surrendered and ceded our lands in exchange of the treaties, promises, but it's not. The oral version is, we had agreed to share our lands with a depth of a plow. But what did they do? Through that 1930 Transfer Resource Agreement, they transferred everything to the provinces. Now they're digging way down. So imagine if we had retain those resources, we wouldn't be struggling with housing. You name it, all the struggles that we're facing. Because of the government funding doesn't fill our needs more. So imagine that. It's important to know the two understanding of some of you might still remember our elder George late Canapatito, Jim Canapatito, had some talking sticks, and I do believe that the granddaughter Darlene is the keeper of those now. Those talking sticks represented the treaty promises. Just like, I'll give you an example. Whatever that's out there, he hates it, that elder, it's still yours. What we are giving you is right on top of that. The animals that you need for subsistence, well, those are yours. In terms of water, when a settler comes in, they were supposed to think one well for their survival. But now, everything's wide open now. Water legislation in the works. And when I talk about the spirituality of it, I'm dead against the legislation. Even refuse to talk about it, or even refuse to get involved in discussions. Remember that my keeper, I'm still working for my keeper that's so sacred. You have to give me a high sign when my time is just about up. So in terms of sovereignty, when we say we are sovereign, we are. We still have our language, we still have our culture, we still have our land. In order to be sovereign, what do we need? We need our own laws. Very important. Because old man Trudeau said, we're in the back then. Where are your laws? Because he said, if you don't have laws, our laws will apply. So this is what we've been doing within this nation, is through law development also. That's very important. Starting with the convention, education law, health law, privacy law, citizenship. Because the government has a plan, and I'd like to briefly touch on UNDRIP, United Nations Declaration. And that should have been a good document that we could have used to our advantage. When it was first developed, the 2007 version was the one that we kept. But now it's so watered down now that we see that as the final implementation of the 69 white paper. 69 white paper, what does it represent? Again, instigated by Trudeau. He wanted to implement the 69 white paper that'll do away with us forever, do away with our treaty lands forever. So within that white paper, they wanted to do away with our membership, trans-treaty people. Because those lands were reserved for treaty people. There's a lot that we can cover, a lot. Through that membership, under 69 white paper, they want to do away with that. So they developed their membership code. Well, they took away, back in 51, they took away that control for us to determine who our band members are. and they have it in Ottawa now. One problem after the other. We all, the ones they took full control now that we don't know. They keep adding band members onto our list that we don't even know. And maybe some of them don't even have roots within the nation. That's another battle. And that's part of the 1969 white paper. Sakaskohc, the people born before 1951 are viewed as treaty people. Before 1951. After 1951, we're classified as status people. That's why we're presented with status cards. Those are not treaty cards, those are status cards based under the Indian Act. And also under what the 6-9 white paper called for is all nations, no matter who it is, gets one service provider. So that means they want to do away with Indian affairs. They wanted to do away with them. And that's very evident. Back in 2017, they split the two departments. One is called ESC, and that's the money manager, the money arm. The other one is relations, on relations. That's the one that's promoting self-government. That's going to extinguish us forever, the relationship. Across Canada, there are approximately 630 plus nations. Eric can talk about that maybe. I get a lot of info from Eric. You probably got the right number, but there are a lot of nations that got coerced or tricked to join on that governance framework. But Onion Lake, we are standing our ground. We're not getting involved in that based on our sovereignty. We kept telling governments, no, we are not part of AFN because we don't like that manufactured consent. Rather than you government coming to us, you go to AFN. And that's a no-no, that's a danger point also. So we had opted out of AFN. But regardless, and I get this from Regina also, we still need to get involved. Because what's happening at that AFN table affects us. And I admire Regina, who's standing up on those AFN assemblies, speaking her ground. So, when it comes to UNDRIP, again, to make it short, I'm kind of cutting it short. It took quite a while before Canada, States, and another country, 3 of them, I think, they didn't approve UNDRIP. They didn't approve it, but eventually they did. You know what? Because of Article 46 that was inserted in there. Article 46 states that they still have that power to overrule. They're still in control. So they're in a process of repealing the Indian Act altogether. And once they do that, we should see that as the final implementation of the 6-9 white paper. The government are going to get their way. Back then, our leaders united and fought against that white paper. and they got the government to back off. But totally, they never backed off because they piecemeal it now. Little at a time, so that the leadership or the people, treaty people, don't realize what's coming down. On the note of federal elections, I think we made history within the nation. That's important that we make our voices heard. Traditionally, in the past, most of us were Indian NDP supporters. But we need to think about NDP wouldn't have a chance. They wouldn't have a chance. So that's why we went liberal. We had no alternative. Even though it's a minority government, at least that's what I was hoping for too. So they wouldn't have that much power to try and, do more damage to us as a majority government. Conservative leaders is very scary. Scared us. It was more like into corporations, right? Supporting corporations. Good example is the Crown lands that it still exists out there that we are entitled to Kistano. Should have a foothold onto these Crown lands. Oh yeah, his platform was when he got it, he's supposedly when he gets in, he was going to sell all these Crown lands to corporations. Again, Nomota, this is coming from Eric. Back then, I don't know how long, it doesn't matter who gets into power because they made an all parties agreement. No matter which government gets in, that they don't support treaty. Am I correct on that, Eric? I don't know if you saw me sleeping. How much time do I have? Hi guys. I'll end off with this. I'd like to thank you, Ginanaskung Tinao. Think about this. We need to continue the battle with protection of what we have, our lands. Because without our lands, we are nothing. The government is getting closer and closer to taking away the status, the treaty status of our treaty lands and placing them under fee simple. And that means our lands would be taxable. We have to pay tax. We can mortgage our lands. The leadership can mortgage lands. What if they don't pay for them? We lose them to the banks. So today and tomorrow, be careful. We gonna make sure that you listen and ask questions. Have a good 2 days. Thank you very much.
Okay, before you students leave, we will probably give you guys a 5-minute break, and then we'll move on to our first session. I pulled up our schedule. So 901 and 904, we're going with our home rooms. So if you don't know your home rooms, it's where you go get your student allowance. All right. So 901, 904, you're starting in the culture room with Mr. Leo and Ms. Priscilla McGilvery. 903, 905, you're in room 129. That's with Miss Regina Crowchild. 902, 1001, you're with Eric Tatusis in room 131. 1002, 1003, you're with Mr. Wallace Fox in room 126. Jim Ochis, 1004, 1005, room 136. Daffy Puyak, room 140, 1006 and 1101. Janice Makokis and Kim Carter in room 144, 1102 and 1103. Gift of Language, grade 12s, Rima Patagan, room 8. Oh, sorry, one of our presenters is sick this morning, so if you are 1202, please pair up with 1201. All right, grade 12s, pair up with 1201. So 1202, you'll be following 1201 schedule, and I can't see who. Huh? Oh, adult 12, you guys are starting with Mr. McDonald in room 09, and Professional Development and Job Readiness and our upgraders from Quijeo, you guys are starting with Ken Badger in room 18. So, no, it's okay. So that's it for that. So students, you guys have a 5-minute break for bathrooms, and we'll get our presenters situated and make your way to those classes.
Mitch, is mine on? Check, check, check. Turn it up. Check, check, check. Can you really hear?
Hello? This one works.
Yeah, I can hear you. Mitch. Check, check, check.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi.
Are we good? Mitch. Hello, good morning. Oh, these are young
Good
guy.
morning.
We have a young student. Well, not a student, but he's a new guy. But anyway, so really quick, good morning, Onion Lake. Welcome to another episode of our 7th generation live streaming. I have a special guest here. You want to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Daffy Puyak. I'm living in Sweetgrass First Nation.
Do you want to share a little bit about the events for today, or kind of your anticipation, especially with the youth, and kind of what's going on here today?
Well, I was looking online at the Facebook page, and I was so happy.
Move your mic a little bit.
Okay. And to me, I thought this is so beautiful because all of these young people here at Sakaskohc High School, and I don't know if there's other communities that are here, but how lucky they are and how valuable the information that they're receiving today. A lot of our young people don't understand what the treaties really mean, not just the paper part, but our original stories. And the stories of our treaties has to do with natural law. And it's important that we understand those treaties and how do we get back to that, the importance of it. And all of it has to do with natural law. Sometimes people think it's just so simple as long as the sun shines and the grass grows and the river flows. But no, all of that is a much deeper story and with a much deeper understanding that we need as Nehewak.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I'm really glad that Sakaskohc decided. Well, this is like an annual thing. I think this is their 2nd annual, and I know from the leadership level to the director and then all the way down, one of the like things that's really emphasized is treaty awareness, and then the understanding, like you said, the inherent rights and our relationship with like the history of where we come from and our understanding with our creation stories. So I'm really excited. I think we have a really good list of speakers here, and you're one of them. Just on behalf of One in Lake, welcome to the community, and I'm really excited. Like I said earlier, we're gonna try live stream or record some of you guys, so we'll try pop in and out of your guys' rooms, and yeah, like I think yours is one we're gonna try to capture as well.
Okay, sounds good. I look forward to it.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yo, yo, yo. So, just for the viewers out there, just a little 411. So we're at the high school here in Onion Lake, Sakaskohc High School. They're having a treaty conference today and tomorrow. We do have a good lineup of speakers here. I'll just read off the list. We have Leo and Priscilla McGilvery. We have Regina Crowchild. We have Eric Tatusis. We have Jim O'Cheese. We have Rima Patagan. We have Daffy Puyak. We have Janice McCocus and Kim Carter. We have Raymond McDonald. We have Trista Badger. And we have Ken Badger. So the way the agenda is looking like is 9 a.m. till 10 a.m. We have keynote speaker in the auditorium, which is what we just finished seeing. And now we have little breakout rooms with all the speakers. And we're going to try to live stream. We have Mitch and Lair out there right now setting up a camera and mic. And if that doesn't work, then we're going to have to record and post the videos later. So I'll let you guys go for now. I gotta work with Mitch and them. So just for the viewers, as you can see, we have a couple of vendors here. We have MK's Graphics. She has a lot of custom shirts, and then we have another woman over here. There's mom actually. She's doing popcorn. So I think it's open to the public to come and shop. Whoa.
Can you hear me?
Students, support staff, please make yourselves presentable in the hallway to escort our students. Session,
Can you hear the mic?
PAs, all support staff in the hallways.
Oh. Microphone. Hello. Check, 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 check. Good. Okay, I'm gonna mute. Oh, you want me to give her the mic? Yeah. Okay. Would you mind talking into the mic, or do you prefer not the mic?
I have a loud voice.
Yeah.
I have a loud voice because I play all the time. Okay, good morning, everyone. Can you, is it on? Okay, good morning. My name is Regina Crowchild. Nisto nagok na to ikok. Tsikena, kiken hunikat tapi ken saksi. My English name is Regina Crowchild. I was born and raised at the Blood Reserve, so I speak the Blackfoot language. And I'm so glad that the school is doing this. As a young girl, my father told me, you'll never be happy just being a housewife and mother. So you need to know who you are, what your history is, and what the treaty is all about. Because if you don't, you're going to be very dangerous to our people. So that's what Dad told me to a lot of meetings. And And that's what's into it. When the newcomers, other people came to our territories, they couldn't, they spoke in, and in the proclamation, the king said, you can't settle on these lands unless you come through me and you enter into treaty with the Indians. They called us Indians because Columbus thought he was an Indian and he got lost. So all constitutional documents refer to us as Indians. So we use that, even though we're not. Then you enter into treaty. And we did that as they came to Canada. They and they wanted to, because British Columbia was already a colony of Great Britain, so they wanted to connect the whole of Canada, what is now known as Canada. So they went to Ontario. The Indians weren't willing to enter into treaty. They came to now what is known as Manitoba. So when they got to Manitoba, that is where Treaty 1 was entered into, then Treaty 2. Then they went back to Ontario, Treaty 3. Then Treaty 4 back. When all of, and the Creator gave us our territory. Say, the Crees live here, the Dene live here. But he gave us all of Turtle Island. But peoples moved around for hunting, fishing, trapping, and they were making treaties amongst themselves. So, when they entered into treaty, they had interpreters. And most of those interpreters didn't know our languages. And if you look at our languages, it's very hard to your language. So it's hard to do it. But anyway, 1876, they had enacted the Indian Act. And that was because of the British North America Act, which found with her to legislate government in our territory. British North America Act. Doesn't say Indians on land. So our people retained Turtle Island and identified it as river, hills, whatever. Sunshine, the grass grows. You and so this was all for settlement. But the intent doctrine and those discoveries of new land, if there were no humans there, put title came peoples here. Say, even if they fought, nations to get rid of us. The only way they legitimized their title to our territories was to get rid of us. So ever since then, starting from the written text of the to what Canada has have tried to get rid of us or assimilate us. Either they killed us off or they assimilated us. So when we entered into treaty, a survey of our areas identified that's where our schools were continuing. They said in the written text, 1 square mile. Well, miles or square miles. So that was what's written in the written text of the treaty, and then it says too that they territories we then relevant to our reserves. We couldn't leave the reserve unless we had a permit from the Indian agent. They put Indian agents and commissioners throughout the reserves.